Hey everybody, it's Karen Anderson here with Aortic for today's weekend review. I don't know why I'm being so musical. Could it be that I just got back from Rock from the Heart's first event of 2025? Yes, it could. And we will talk about that drib drabs throughout this event. If for those of you not familiar with what week in review is, it's when we review the week, last week, all of our posts, things that we've done, events, things like that. And we give you guys an opportunity to interact with us and tell us your thoughts, share your comments, your views, blah, blah, blah. Share everything nice because it's going to live out here forever. So just keep that in mind. I'm not a doctor. I just pretend to be one with aortic. No, I don't pretend to be one. I just review stuff that other medical professionals give us as far as information. All right, before we get started, I need you to click what's the word? Subscribe. Click the little bell so you're notified every time we go live so that you don't forget events like tomorrow night when Dr. Stacy Fisher from Johns Hopkins, she's a cardiologist, she's going live with us. And we're talking about a bunch of different things related to the actual heart. We're kind of not really even going to talk about the aorta, believe it or not. And that's because February is Heart Health Month. And we've never really discussed the heart in and of itself. Like, let's talk about it. Let's get into the four chambers. Let's talk about all four valves. Let's talk about women's heart health and how it presents a little bit differently than men's. And she'll be taking your questions live as well tomorrow evening. So you click the bell, you're notified when we're live. You can jump into conversations like this and hang out with us and really enjoy the community we've created. And don't forget to click share. Click share because somebody will get something out of this today, and then they'll be educated or at least mildly entertained, right? So let's get going. Let's go for it. All right, last week, Movement for Movement Monday. We love these by our volunteer Joyce, and we're talking about the power of intentional movement. So we believe that movement is really more than just exercise. I mean, we all know that it is. And even though we came up with this idea of a movement for movement, which was based upon the community and their trepidation towards moving their body, I was one of them. Quite frankly, I'm still one of them who sometimes gets nervous to overdo it because something always breaks down in this body for some reason. But seeing that heart rate go up, feeling a little winded, this is normal. It's very normal to have these fears. And when you add that to the fact that there's no standard way of thinking when it comes to exercise in the aortic community, we're trying. We know doctors are doing research, but when there's nothing standardized, something we can chew on and bite on, we then get scared and we have like cardiac paralysis and we don't want to move. So movement, it's really a commitment of taking care of your body and your mind with intentional steps towards better health. Intentional steps, right? It's kind of a play on words. And so that's why we encourage everybody to participate in a movement for movement on Mondays. And that's your chance to really embrace movement in a way that's going to work for you. So movement doesn't have to be running in a marathon. And I think everybody thinks that it has to be this high impact, high level thing. And it doesn't really have to. It doesn't even have to include heavy lifting. It definitely shouldn't include anything that involves really engaging your stomach muscles to the point that you've got veins bulging and your face is turning red and you're holding your breath. It really can just be simple stretching, right? It can just be simple stretching in the morning, maybe taking this short walk. How about just dancing in your house to your favorite song, or maybe even just practicing yoga? The key is to have intentional movement, to move with purpose, even in a small way, to just support circulation, heart health, overall well-being. And no matter where you actually are in your health journey, every single step actually counts. And whether you're motivated by having better health or your family or just the desire to feel stronger, finding a reason to move can really make all of the difference when you're moving. So join us in making movement a priority today and every day, including last Monday when this post went up. Your body's going to thank you. So again, movement per movement, we did a check-in, hoping you guys are enjoying these inspirational posts every other Monday. Did I move? I moved a lot this weekend when I was in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it was cold, but you know what? It really wasn't brutal. It wasn't brutal unless you're near water and there's some kind of wind. Then it was a little brutal. But it's not, I think everybody thinks that when you go to Minnesota and you walk outside, you're frozen. you were not an ice sculpture. That's not how it happens. Actually, didn't even wear my jacket to any place I went. Well, I knew I was leaving a warm building and going into a warm Uber and going back into a warm building. But even the like couple blocks that we did walk, it was really lovely. If there's no wind, it just the crisp air was nice. And we were there because Rock from the Heart had the first of their two events in 2025. This was their Aortic Ed informational session that took place on Friday. And then it goes into a concert event on Saturday. So we'll just talk about Friday for right now. It was really lovely. We stayed at the St. Paul Hotel. It was a couple members of Aortic Hope and volunteers. Aortic Health Unlimited had representation there, and then obviously a lot of people from Rock from the Heart and a lot of community members were there. And new faces, familiar faces. We had a table set up, lots of information, a lot of great sponsors Amy and Pete Johnson had at this event. And then in the mid-afternoon, we went right into conversations, 10 to 15 to 20-minute long presentations. I kicked it off with teaching everybody how they can ace their healthcare journey. And I think it was pretty popular. I think it went over really well. And then that turned right into quite a lot of other really interesting topics. I really loved the doctor who talked about all of the electronic monitoring devices that exist, even some, I think one was called WOMF or something like that. Starts with, I've never heard of it before. I'm hoping to get him to go live with us so he can share with you the nuances and differences between these devices and what they actually track and what your goals are and what you might want to look into purchasing for yourself. So that was really interesting, learning about what happens if there's an emergency, what to expect when you go to a hospital, what really should take place. And we helped educate this person on adding the idea of thinking about your family medical history, think aorta, think family. And she was very open to that, thought that was a great idea. I ate a lot of popcorn as my snack while I was listening. They had really good popcorn, evidently from Chicago. And it was like the best caramel popcorn. Oh my God, it was so yummy. So I had a lot of popcorn. And then when that was over, we had a nice cocktail hour with amazing past hors d'oeuvres and lots of raffles. I actually won something. I won a great basket. Opportunities to buy great merchandise that Amy creates on her own that you can find through their website. And then we had a lovely, beautiful sit-down dinner where there was a presentation of Diane Bishop from Aortic Health of Alabama. She presents the Golden Pin Award, which is designed as an aorta. It's a gold aorta. And she presented that to our very own Terry Cook, as well as Rock from the Heart's volunteer, Tammy, and I don't remember her last name right now. I'm so sorry, I don't remember it. Wonderful presentations. It was a really good dinner too. That was really yummy. And that was Friday. So that was a lot of fun. That was a good day. And now, who's with us today? Anybody here? Is it quiet again? Come on. Can't be quiet. No quiet.
Hello, Velda, Christina, and Tom.
Hey, Velda, Christina, and Tom. Thanks so much for joining. You can live vicariously through me as I share all the info of the shenanigans. It's pure shenanigans that took place. There's a lot of fangirling by guys and girls because we had, there were these, Gina Shock, drummer of the Go-Go's, was there and just hanging out with us in the lobby of the hotel. Like, she's so sweet. She's so normal, so wonderful. She actually has homes in Maryland, one in a town that's like 20 minutes from me, the other one in Annapolis, which I'm sure everybody's heard of. And she loves the Box Hill Pizzeria down the street from me. So we talked about the crab cakes. Like, she mentioned all these favorite restaurants that my friend and I, well, Terry, myself, and my other friend that was there, we eat at, and we talked about it and talked about what it was like to be inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. God, just sitting there with somebody, like, who gets to sit and have a conversation with a person who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Like, not me, not on a, Thursday or Friday. But that's what happened, and it was just comfortable, and it was so great. It was just a lot of fun. And then when the spin doctors walked in, my friend just lost his mind, kind of like I would have with Rick Springfield. And so I just walked up and said hi and introduced myself, and then took pictures of everybody with them, and they were so friendly and so nice, and just really down to earth. And it's so fun to see the 80s kind of making its comeback a little bit, and the early 90s, and Yeah, admittedly so, I only knew 2 songs at the concert, but the 2 songs I knew, it was a lot of fun to listen to from the Spin Doctors, from, Aortic Fire, and Pete Johnson's band did such a good job. They incorporated a lot of different types of music, and then Gina came out and they played 3 Go-Go song, and that was just like the whole place was standing, and, that's Saturday night, we'll get into that, but yeah, so Friday was a ton of fun meeting them, and that was a good time. All right, we're gonna move on to Topic Tuesday. Okay. So, Topic Tuesday, as you know, throughout this whole month, we've been talking about aortic valve disease and anything that has to do with it because February is Heart Health Month. And on the 22nd, which was just 2 days ago, it was Heart Valve Disease Awareness Day. So, we've been focusing all of our attention on the aortic valve. And last Tuesday, we really wanted to cover surgical aortic valve replacement. This is not an acronym that we talk about a lot. It's SAVAR. We talk about the TAVARs or the trans. Um, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm losing the word. But when you go in the groin, I can't think of the word, but yeah, goes in. I can't. The words escaped my brain. I don't know. I'm so tired. When we talk about those, catheter, you know what I'm trying to say. I can't think of the word, but we always just call it like an open surgery. But that's a surgical aortic valve repair. But we wanted everybody to kind of look back at the posts we've done so that you understand what normal aortic valve anatomy actually is and the diseases of aortic valve and the different types of valves that can be used in surgery. So just to review, make sure we all remember, the aortic valve is the one way, and we say this for a reason, the one way valve that actually sits at the base of your aorta. So that's what allows all of that freshly oxygenated blood to flow from your heart to the rest of your entire body. And this valve is really critical for your circulatory system and because it's consistently under pressure from the heart, squeezing blood towards it for movement for the rest of the body. And as you can imagine, being under constant pressure, this can actually cause this valve to weaken over time and cause it to malfunction. Aging, disease, damage to the aortic valve, and this can all cause it to become stiff or narrow, which is stenosis, or leaky, which is regurgitation. Okay. And that kind of makes it, regardless of which way you have it, it's going to make it harder for your heart to pump the blood effectively. So, in these particular cases, surgery is needed to replace the valve with a mechanical or bioprosthetic valve. And we discussed that in a previous blog post. So, there's a number of factors that go into the decision making on selecting whether you want mechanical or you want bioprosthetic, AKA tissue. And this is really a very in-depth conversation that you need to have with your physician and your surgical team beforehand. So there's a lot of thoughts that go into this: age, your lifestyle, and your preferences, really. So you really want to get as much information as you can. And when aortic disease, the patient guide, comes out very, very soon, it's in its last final stage, you'll have this information at hand, and that should help you be able to create some questions in addition to the ones that are already provided to you in the back of the guide. So now, what goes into a surgical aortic valve replacement? So it is an open heart procedure for mechanical or bioprosthetic valves. So you can get either valve in an open, but in the one that goes up the groin, because I can't remember the name right now, that can only be bioprosthetic because they have to collapse the valve. And you can't collapse something that is mechanical. It does not, as of today, it does not collapse upon itself. So open for either or. Endovascularly, I remember that word, has to be bioprosthetic. So to get to the heart for this procedure, the cardiac surgeon will actually begin by making an incision down the middle of your chest to separate the bone and gain access to the heart. This is called a sternotomy. Once the surgeon has actual access to the heart will temporarily be stopped. This is very normal. This should not shudder people. This is what they do all the time. Think about Cleveland Clinic. They do this all the time, okay? They're going to temporarily stop the heart. You will not know. because you will be sleeping, or actually you will blink and think that you never went to sleep. But this is actually going to really be the safest way to allow the surgeons to actually get in there and fix that valve without having the heart move. You don't want the heart moving as you're trying to fix something that's kind of in the heart. Bad idea. But how can the rest of your organs actually continue to get that oxygenated blood that it needs in order to function if your heart's been stopped? And this is where something called CPB, or cardiopulmonary bypass, comes in. And all of us are put on that when you have open heart surgery like this. A CPB machine essentially takes over the job of the heart and the lungs during cardiac surgery. So tubes are placed in your heart and your major blood vessels, and it continues to function and redirect the blood from the body to the machine rather than through the heart and the lungs. And this allows the blood to circulate and become oxygenated, and the machine does that, and then it allows the blood to be returned to the rest of the body. So the CPB machine actually ensures that blood continues to flow throughout your body, so you still get oxygen and the nutrients that are needed while your heart is temporarily stopped. It's kind of cool if you think about it. And after you're put on bypass, the cardiac surgeon will access the diseased aortic valve through the aorta. They will remove it and hand sew the new valve in place. Hand sew it. Right? After this, then the heart will be started again. Yes, it's going to be started with a little shock, 2 paddles. Starts the heart again, and bypass gets turned off, and the blood flow will start to normally go back to the way that it was, right? And it flows through the heart and it flows through the new valve. And after the surgical team makes sure that the new valve is functioning properly, the chest and the sternum will be put back together and the procedure will be complete. So this procedure will typically take about 4 to 6 hours. That's normal. Could be a little less, maybe it could be a little more. No reason to freak out unless somebody tells you it's time to freak out, which they wouldn't say that, but pretty normal, 4 to 6 hours, okay? And here, let's take a look at this graphic on aortic valve surgery, okay? So this is what a healthy aortic valve looks like. This is what a bicuspid valve looks like. Remember, bi, it only has 2 leaflets or cusps instead of the normal natural 3. This is aortic stenosis. So it's gotten hard, it's gotten stiff, it has some calcium buildup on it, okay? Here is where it sits in the heart at the base of the aorta. This is your aorta, okay? And this is the area right here where your valve is. This is showing poor blood flow. For whatever the reasons is right now, it's saying it's because it has aortic stenosis, so it's too tight, and it's letting blood back up into the left ventricle, okay? Poor blood flow. So here's the aortic valve repair. Right? I can't really tell you for sure what they're doing here because I don't know. I'm not really a doctor, but they're doing something. This is if it's bicuspid valve. Okay.
They deploy the valve over right through the bicuspid valve, right? So they're pulling it sideways, and then they're going to deploy the new valve right there.
Right into the bicuspid. Yep. So this is, and they're putting that 3 cusps right there. Sewed it right in place. Boom, 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 boom. Amazing. Yeah. Now that's a bioprosthetic. So if you needed another one in the future and you could do it endovascularly, it just springs and pops into place here. They don't cut this out. They put a new one and it goes right in over top the old one. Mechanical, different story. Very interesting. After surgery, you're going to be in the hospital, probably in ICU for maybe a week, maybe less, to allow your heart and functioning to be monitored closely. And finally, then you're going to be discharged home. Probably get some medications. If you're mechanical, you're going to be on blood thinner like warfarin, Coumadin, same drug. And this depends, again, the type of medication depends on the valve you receive. If you're in bioprosthetic, there is you must take a medication. You don't need a med to keep you from rejecting it. That's not like an organ that you have to take, anything like that. So there is no blood thinner that you have to take for the valve. You might still be on a blood thinner if you had any other issues. Let's say you're at risk for strokes or something like that, or you have AFib. Totally different story. If you choose a mechanical valve, you have to be on blood thinner because there's always a moment. Blood does not flow with each heartbeat that fast. There's a moment where blood sits for a split second. And on mechanical, it can sit on those metal cusps. And you have to be on blood thinner to make sure that that little teeny microscopic blood clot doesn't like get loose and wreak any kind of havoc. So that's why you're on a blood thinner when it's mechanical. Do we think that there'll ever be a chance? This was asked at the symposium about a mechanical valve that won't need it. And the answer was possibly. Nothing to talk about today. So just so you know, you might also receive, I think it says cardiac rehab, usually for valves, possible PT. Might take 2 to 3 months before you fully feel like yourself. Again, most of your uncomfortability is going to come from that sternotomy, healing. Sometimes they're able to do a smaller incision versus the full incision. So it really depends on your personal situation. But a surgical open repair like this, it's pretty common, and it's very highly effective for treating aortic valve disease. And these procedures can significantly improve your quality of life. People who have gone in before with shortness of breath or some fluid retention, when they come out, they immediately notice there's a difference. They can tell that there's a difference. And it just allows your heart to function more, and a lot more effectively. And it's common to have a lot of anxiety about this. I do not just read this to you lightly. I may need one myself. And so I'm totally scared. So it's very normal to have anxiety and questions about this procedure and all of your options. It's so overwhelming, right? It's so easy to say, I don't want mechanical because it TikToks, but you're typically like a one and done as you get older. I mean, it could last, 30, 40 years. If you're younger, you know, there's just different ways to look at it. There's a lot of different. When you're older, you probably would go for a tissue because even though it lasts upwards of 15 to 20 years, it's not as invasive because they can go in endovascularly. So when you're older, a lot of times older patients can't really tolerate the open heart procedure. So you really want to make sure you have a good surgical team that can explain this to you and your advocate, your loved one, whoever you choose to be there with you. And I highly recommend you do have someone. A lot of times when we're nervous, we may not process the answers, right? And many of the individuals in aortic hope community, they've had these procedures. And so they're here to support you and your loved ones as well. You'll find them in our support groups. Just ask, and there's always somebody that's there to share with you their story and how successful it was. So that's the information about surgical aortic valve replacement. Our topic Tuesday. All right. Anybody else join us?
Hi.
Hey, Molly.
And she says endovascular.
Yeah, that was the word. Trans. I can't. I've got so many letters in my head right now and so many words that my head's butchering everything. That's all right. Hey, what we do want to do is welcome our new clinical liaison, Darlene Hepler. She just started with us. She's a caregiver, but she's also a nurse, which I love. I love this. She's a nurse with just such an interesting perspective that I think is going to be very valuable to us. She has noticed that in her own hospital and the surrounding hospitals, there's really not a lot of good information about aortic disease, about thinking about the aorta, resources, stuff like that. And she's pretty well connected. So we're obviously going to start in home base and we're going to spread the education by utilizing her and her background and just bring some awareness to aortic hope and think aorta and aortic disease in general. So here's what she had to say. Hi, my name is Darlene Hepler, and I'm the wife of a thoracic aortic aneurysm dissection survivor. As a registered nurse, I currently work teaching for a local university as a faculty member in their nursing program. I obtained my associate degree in nursing in 1992, and after having my 5 children, her children are grown, 4 girls, 1 boy, all of which have also gained healthcare love from their mother. She returned to school to get her bachelor's degree and then her master's degree in nursing education. She was awarded her master's degree in 16 months, and that's usually a 3 to 5 year program. Slacker. She did all that while she was raising her kids, going to their sporting and school events, as well as working several jobs. She's currently actually working on her doctoral degree in nursing education. She was born and raised in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, home of Little League Baseball. and which is also where she currently resides. And during her early years in nursing, she worked as a cardiac step-down unit. She worked in there caring for post-operative open heart patients, not knowing at the time how her life would eventually come full circle and bring her back to her first love of cardiology. Some other areas that she's worked has been maternal care, maternal child, home care and hospice, office nurse, management in a family practice residency. That's where her love of education came from. And since her husband's dissection in November of 2021, she's realized how much education is lacking, not only for the nurses, but especially for the patients and the families. She goes, we were even taught in nursing school that you will never see aortic dissections. And so now it's her passion to make the change in these areas. And it's her project for her doctoral program. And she loves to travel to the beach as well as camping. And she's currently planning a months-long trip to see their daughter in Montana. So let's give a welcome to Darlene. Welcome, Darlene. Welcome.
Welcome, Darlene.
Welcome, Darlene. All right, let's get on to Feel Good Friday. All right, want to try to feel good? Everybody wants to feel good, right? I don't know what's going to make my joints feel better, but I'm willing to try anything on the Feel Good Friday. Let's see. Let's try to implement some of the ideas that were brought up on Feel Good Friday. Let's practice gratitude. Even despite my pain, I do try to practice gratitude. Take a moment to appreciate the positive aspects of your life. I think I do that. I think I do that all the time. Write down 3 things you're grateful for each day. It could just be that the sun's shining. It could be a warm cup of tea. It could be a friendly smile. There's definitely 3 things we're all grateful for. Even if you're just having a day or you're having a bad day, you can find 3 things. Try to connect with loved ones. I don't know. That makes me happy. It might not make everybody happy. Everybody's family situation is different, but it definitely makes me happy. Spending time with family and friends can lift your spirits, and share laughter, share stories, meaningful conversations. Social connections are really essential for our emotional health. So if it's not, family, just make it be your friends, right? They're important too. Self-care rituals, check plus for me. I'm very much into these. Pamper yourself with self-care activities. Yes. I just went the other day for a pedicure and paid extra money just so they would rub my feet longer. Yeah, that's how much it's important to me because I needed that. Take a relaxing bath. I know it's going to be like 60 degrees this week, and I will have my butt right in that hot tub floating with Yacht Rock Radio on. That's self-care for me. Listen to soothing music, practice mindfulness, meditation. Just treat yourself kindly. Healthy eating. I think I ate okay this last couple days. I think I did pretty good. Nourish your body with nutritious food. A balanced diet contributes to physical and mental well-being. We know this. And don't forget to hydrate. That's super important. And enjoy nature. Spend time outdoors, whether it's a walk in the park. It could be a hike. Believe me, if I lived where Molly lived, I'd be walking the beach all the time because I do love a good walk on the beach. Sit by a window. Right? You could sit by a window. Any kind of nature tends to have a calming effect. It's definitely very grounding. You can take your shoes off, your socks off, put it on bare earth if they're not going to freeze. Connecting with just having your feet in dirt or having them in the sand. And the best is when you can have them in the sand and the water comes over. There's something very electrical and grounding about that situation. Random acts of kindness. If you can't think of doing something directly for yourself, do something for somebody else because that will positively impact you. It just gives you this sense of fulfillment. And it could be as simple as just holding the door for somebody else, right? Or just leaving somebody a little uplifting note. Feeling good is actually a journey. It's a marathon. I mean, I like it to be a sprint. I like to find something where I can have immediate gratification, like that extra foot rub made me really happy. But even that, we're all going to have ups and we're going to have downs. We're going to have moments that feel better than others. And you just got to be patient with yourself. Just kind of have to find a way to embrace those small moments of joy. And that was our Feel Good Friday. Okay. Moving on, moving and grooving. I missed like a whole day. So Saturday of Rock from the Heart, we went to Paisley Park. Oh my God. Went to Paisley Park only for me to find out that I bought my 4 ultimate package level tickets for January 25th. Yeah, I screwed up the date. They would not honor those tickets. Guess what happened? I had to spend $500 and to buy more tickets. I wanted to be very sick to my stomach, but there was no way I was not going in during the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. Like, had to go. I'll figure it out later, right? Actually, my friend whipped out his credit card and took care of us and made it happen, but I'll take care, making sure he gets that cash. But whoo, I started that off on a really bad note. But then as soon as I got in and I saw that they had different like exhibits, it's just God, he's just was such an amazing. You don't even have to like Prince's music in order to appreciate him as an artist and his abilities and his talent, and played every single musical instrument. Didn't love horns, but could still play it. But God, he just picked something up and just I don't know. I just find him to be just quite magical. And it was wonderful. And the place is so big and it's so special and it's so great. And it's just a lot of fun. So we did that, and then we came back and took a rest. And then it was time for VIP party, which was fun with a little bit of food and walking around. And this guy was dressed up like a heart. So we took pictures. And then the concert started, and it was fabulous. I mean, Pete Johnson's band, like as I mentioned, did a great job. And listening to Gina drum Go-Go's music, it's always so fun. Breaking out some 80s dance moves. I was quintessential Breakfast Club dance moves for sure. That might be how I hurt my foot. And then the Spin Doctors came out, and even though I didn't know a lot of the music, I was fully entertained. A lot of the crowd really enjoyed it. And then it was come home, pack as fast as possible, because I had to get up 4 hours later to get on the plane. But yesterday when I came home, I fell asleep at 10:30 in the morning, woke up at 5, had dinner, fell asleep at 6:30, and woke up this morning. So I was so tired. I needed some sleep. Sometimes you just got to listen to your body, right? All right. We usually have Saturday Survivor Series stories, but sometimes we don't have them every week. And so we use those weeks to remind you how important we want. Well, it's important. We need you to share your story. We were talking all about that over this weekend and the importance of listening to people share their stories. We had somebody at this event who shared her story, which was just amazing. And people get emotional, and that's fine, but you sit there and you listen, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you went through this. And I got to meet John. It's not Tavoinen, because I know it's not. That's too easy. Thank you. That's exactly right. And he knows everybody butchers his last name all the time, but he's so fun to hang out with. And he'd just gone live with us like a week before. And there's just something special about having people share their story with you. It's very validating. There's always bits and pieces that are reminiscent to maybe what you've been through. And I think it's very therapeutic for them to stand up in front of a room, to pre-record a story, to write it down and have it read, or to even go live on our YouTube channel here and share the story. It is therapeutic, and it could be very emotional. You might find it a little challenging. I don't care if your dog walks by on camera. Like, just be you. You're going to connect so well with the community. We really also want to hear a little bit about the symptoms you experienced, right? We kind of also want to know, what was your experience at the hospital if you had a dissection? If you didn't and you found out you have an aneurysm, what was that like? What precipitated that? What were you feeling when you found out? And what is the course of action? What's your game plan? How do you know when it's time to go to the ER? If you had your valve replaced, what was that like for you? How did you make your choices? These are all really important things that we love to hear from people about. We just want to be educated from your experiences. So if it's something that you would be interested in doing, you can click on the form. You can go under programs. There's a form listed there as well. We would love to hear from you. Just fill out the form, and someone will definitely be in touch to grab that story from you, and it will be most appreciated. Okay, we are moving on to share with you Sunday. This is pretty interesting. So medical trauma, something that we don't talk probably enough about. And medical trauma can happen when you're just dismissed from a physician. They blow off your symptoms. They don't believe that you're in as much pain as you're in. You don't realize how traumatic not being believed or listened to can actually be. But medical trauma actually happens as a result of medical procedures, illnesses, hospital stays, and it can really leave a long-lasting effect. And according to Pain Scale, in an article titled "What to Do When Medical Trauma Interferes with Current Medical Care," the author shares the following. So medical trauma is an emotional response to a serious event involving medical care. For example, medical trauma can develop after an unpleasant treatment, painful procedure, for sure, or a hospitalization in the ICU. Medical trauma can also occur when an error is made. such as when the wrong medication is prescribed or when a surgical mistake leads to a complication. And sometimes experiencing medical trauma or PTSD from a medically related event can actually be pretty problematic because it might make us not want to go back to a hospital or go back for a follow-up. It may make us distrust physicians, not take our medications, maybe not even agree to a procedure. So here's an overview of 6 steps that you can take when trauma interferes with your care. 1, consider appointment times. And the reason to do that is you might be more alert and more aware of this trauma if you take an appointment in the morning versus late in the day. Maybe it's easier for you late in the day because you don't want to have it first thing in the morning. Maybe you only want to go to doctors on Tuesdays and Thursdays from here on out and leave all the other days for other things. Set boundaries like that for yourself, okay? Involve a family member or a friend. Let them come with you. Let them be a voice of reason. Let them ask the questions that you forget that you really want to ask because you might be a little frazzled because of the trauma. Invite other people in to this experience with you. Be honest with your medical team. This is part of how to ace your healthcare journey, right? We want people to advocate for themselves. We want them to communicate and educate the medical team about everything that has to do with you. Be honest. Tell them, I don't like the way that this medication makes me feel. I don't like that you want to do this procedure because I don't understand it. I don't want to take medication 3 times a day. I forget all the time in the middle of the day. What can we do about that? Just be honest and tell your team how you feel. You're not going to be judged. I can't tell you how many doctors in that meeting this weekend said what they wouldn't give for their patients to be more communicative and honest and open with them. Try some breathing or relaxation techniques before you go into the appointment. Just set yourself for a split second before you walk in. Use the time in the waiting room to just, do the alternate nasal breathing where you breathe in one nostril, and then you breathe out the other one, and then you breathe back in, and then you breathe out. There's lots of different things that you can do. Feel all 5 senses. Feel all 5 senses. That's funny. Experience all 5 senses. Look at something. Try to see if there's a smell in the room. Try to determine if you hear something, if you taste something. By the time you get to the third one, you're usually much calmer because you just are. It's a distraction technique. Basically, distract your brain from the traumatic thoughts that you're having or the stress and anxiety. Be willing to ask for help. If you're really struggling with the idea of follow-up due to medical trauma, it's time for a specialist, to really intervene and try to teach you therapeutic methods to help you with this, other ways to ground yourself. And look, at the end of the day, if you're very well aware this is not a match for you, this doctor, you're just oil and water, then just go find another doctor. This is your care. As one doctor, I think it was Dr. Wallen, said when I was at this event, he's like, you pay them. This is your dime. You really lead this show. You've just invited them to come in and you're paying them. This is your copay. This is your premium. Have the experience that you believe that you should have, right? And if you're not, then go find someone else. So if you want more detailed information about these 6 steps, there is a link to an article here. And this was just this most recent Sunday's article. Okay. Events. I just got started, everybody. I just got started. It's only 24th. I will get all of March up there. But for the rest of this month, tonight, how exciting. We start the WISE meeting. This is the Women Inspiring Support and Empowerment for Aortic Health. It's the first time we've had a women's only support group meeting. We are starting this tonight. Your moderator will be Diane Bishop from Aortic Health Unlimited. So we will be online, kind of just really putting this together with the input of those that show up this evening. We'll figure out exactly how often we want to have it, what kind of guest speakers we want to be there, and the topics we want to discuss. So I encourage all of the ladies out there to join us at this support group meeting. You just sign up once and you're going to get an email just before the start with a link to join, again through Teams, just like we're doing here. And that link is in that event right there. And then we have tomorrow night, 7 p.m., we have our live Q&A with Dr. Stacey Fisher. As I mentioned, we're talking all about the heart, which will be very interesting. The last general support group meeting will be this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then we have the aortic artist with Diane Bishop on Thursday. And then the month's over. My goodness, February, but boom, check it off. Gosh, this year's, I can't believe we're almost gonna be done like first quarter. Like, that's crazy. I just don't know where this first 2 months have gone. It's insane. But that's our events. That's what we have going on. That's a lot. We've already scheduled a live event for March. We have an Ask a Doctor coming up in March. I think there's 2 live events. I think we might even have Aortic Athletes doing a live event if it's like ringing in my brain, I think, right? I think they have something. We have Dr. Caterino from Cedars-Sinai. I think we have a couple doctors like boom, 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 month after month after month, which is very nice and exciting. So that's what I got. If nobody out there has anything they want to share with me, I'll just say thank you so much for joining. Thank you. And do not forget to click like, click subscribe, click that little bell so that you get that notification so you can join us. And then otherwise, hopefully I'll see you guys tomorrow night or another time this week. And if not, then it'll be next Monday, same time. All right, is that it, Josh? Are we good to go?
Good job. Let's go.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Take care.